Hello everyone, and welcome back to the 3 Points Digital discussion series. My name is Philip Mottram, and today we're going to be talking about Pragmatic Agile. I'm here with my fellow partners, Andrew and Joya. And as we think about that topic, guys, we've seen a lot of people attempting Agile, some good and some not so good. Why do you think that is?
I think the success has been in particularly the IT areas, where there's been rapid development of product. It's been almost that success has bounded its future because it becomes then the domain of the IT shop. I think the challenge we've seen, particularly in the last 5 years, is how to get it embedded, i.e. the responsive, more flexible, cross-silo teams working more embedded in the whole organization.
Yeah.
Well, and I think part of the narrative that organizations and leaders in the organizations need to adopt is also fairly critical, right? Because if we take a step back and look at our collective experiences over the last few years in organizations that have done well with adopting Agile versus not so well, one of the key criteria has been: does the executive team, do the key leaders in the business understand the value and how this is going to help them do things better and faster?
Yeah. So top down, bottom up has been a big gap, I think, in implementations of Agile. Very good on tools. There's a bunch of good tool sets and so on. But the linkage to business value, which I think is the pragmatism we're arguing for, the senior leadership of being responsive, and increasingly products and services so tightly coupled with digital solutions, inevitably the IT shops are involved in that front of house activity, aren't they?
Well, they are. I think the other thing that, if we just explore the difference between, say, an IT team doing it really well in the same organization where a business team is not doing it so well, why?
We're not doing it at all.
Let's say they're not doing it so well. What's the issue there? Is it the value? Is it the context? Is it the problem? Why do the IT people seem to get it, and perhaps some of the other teams struggle with it?
I think it's linked to fixed inertia around organizational structures, roles, accountabilities. Typically an area that we found difficult, I think, to shift is the finance world. Mm-hmm. Now, it doesn't suggest they have to do daily stand-ups and so on. However, doing the budgeting process in a more agile way, because so much is set in process and systems around a financial year, as an example of that then constrains the whole place to be more responsive and agile. I think new product development is another area. There's traditional new product development, and therefore the product change takes a long time versus those that are more responsive and quick and agile, and they get their teams together across silos and get a product out.
Well, and I think to add to that, Agile goes as fast as the smallest turn of the wheel, right? So if you have a product team, or if you have a squad that's kind of built around speed of delivery because that's what they're being told, and there are business teams that they need to interact with that don't know the first thing about what it means and what it means for them specifically, then the speed decreases automatically because the team that they're serving doesn't quite understand why they need to be doing this at a pace, right? So I think this is kind of where, when we look at the definition of Agile and the dependencies that individual squads have, we have to make sure that all those individual dependencies are actually brought into the tent. To Andrew's point, it doesn't mean that everybody needs to be running daily stand-ups, but they certainly need to have the basics around, why am I doing this? What is expected of me? What do I need to give the team so that I get what I need? So I think that's fairly critical.
So I think the message in the prefix, the word pragmatic, I think is centered on an approach that baselines the various capabilities across the organization. So who's doing some sort of agile, who isn't, because we've seen varying degrees of maturity, haven't we? Then the top-down, bottom-up idea, is the exec really bought into the idea of this change, because it will change policies, governance, policy, processes, etc. Then the idea of, I think, piloting and making sure we can see success in a certain area, which is business and IT. Yeah. And then I think sort of scaling and embedding is part of that pragmatism. How do you scale and embed it to a limited, no, not to everybody, but to enough of a scale for that the whole organization is starting to shift.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So when we think about a whole organization, it's almost about adopting the principles and almost seeing the values of the organization change and people understanding the benefit of Agile and the responsiveness required for Agile teams. So if I'm in finance or I'm in HR and I'm not in a squad, but yet I need to respond rapidly to assist with a particular sprint or a particular outcome, I've got to have those principles. I don't necessarily have to be doing a stand-up or being in my own squad. Equally, there are ways to scale up where I may be a part-time member of a squad.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's fair to say we have seen missteps, if you like, of well-intentioned purists, and we support it totally. But a bit of which has happened over the last 20, 30 years about various like Six Sigma and so on, where the discipline becomes more of a religion and they're subscribed to the must be a yellow card, so on. So which is a shame because there is good value in the repetitive discipline. However, it can also become a burden and a blocker for the acceptance of many people. That's all sort of tactical.
Yeah, and the scaling up into different parts of the organisation.
Exactly.
So doing Agile perhaps in the BD or sales area might look different or feel different to perhaps in IT, but they're still both doing
But they've
Agile.
signed up to the principles, which are top down and led. Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, what we're really saying is that Pragmatic Agile is not a separate method. It's the customization, the contextualization of that method around a couple of things. It's around the business value, it's around the strategic purpose, and it's going to be different in different parts of the business as long as it's grounded around those Agile principles. It's a really great discussion. Thanks, guys, for watching, and stay tuned for more from the 3 Points Digital discussion series.